Hello Year 4 and welcome to Thursday's maths lesson from Mr. Bowes at St Mary Magdalene's Primary School. Today's lesson is going to be all about measures, centimetres and millimetres. But before we do that, we're going to look at yesterday's work and mark it. So starting at the top here, we've got the spicy, then the spicier, and finally the spiciest. So have a look through these answers. You need to pause the video, mark your work from yesterday. Good. So today's learning is to measure to the nearest millimetre and use decimal notation. So we're using rulers and tape measures today. Before we do that, quick warm up. I want you to do your bonds to 100. I want you to write down 20 different bonds. If you're feeling spicy, you can do bonds like this. If you're feeling spicier or spiciest, give yourself a challenge. Whoops, 37, add what? 63, 63. Pen's still warming up here. Remember the rule for getting bonds to 100? The ones, or the units, in this case I've got a 7 and a 3 as the ones, they will always add up to 10, and the 6 and the 3 will always, which are the tens, will always add up to 9. Okay, so that's our rule for doing bonds to 100. I want you to do 20 different bonds to 100. Spicy, spicier, spiciest. Okay, off you go. Well done. I hope you did that nice and quick. So today we're doing measures and we're going to be looking at measuring different things. You're going to need something to measure with. So you might need to scoot around the house and try and find something. If you've got a ruler, obviously that's perfect. Use a ruler. If not, and somebody in your house does measuring for making clothes or curtains or things, if you're into sewing, you might find that you have one of these ones as well. Yeah, it's a little measuring tape. It does exactly the same job. It's still got centimetres on it, and it's got the little millimetre demarcations in between there, the 2 and the 3. You can see those lines that make tenths. There's a paper one here, which was picked up at a local shop. You might recognise that name. That's got a measuring tape on it as well. So find what you can. Oh yeah, sometimes you get them down the side of a book as well. You know, my red diary that I always have hanging around. I've got, I think, a measuring tape in here somewhere as well. They've actually helpfully printed it on the side of the page. So if I open the page here, what they've done is down one edge of the page, they've put the demarcations. So I've got centimetres and inches down there with millimetres as well. So you'll find rulers in different places to help you. What I want you to do now is to go back to the school website and click on the link to the video. Yeah, there's a video link. It goes to Maths Antics and it's all about measures. So watch that video now for the first 3 minutes. It does go on a lot longer. You can watch the rest another time, but just watch the first 3 minutes about centimetres, millimetres, and measuring things. Good. So now you're going to measure things. You need to go around the house, find perhaps 6 or 8 different things to measure. Something like this. There's a little spanner here that you could use. Let me do a slightly bigger demonstration so you can see. If I make this a little bit bigger. Oh, a lot bigger. God, that's scary. Spanner, something like this. If I want to measure that, I need to get my ruler and make sure that one end of the spanner goes up against the 0. There's no point me measuring from the end of the plastic ruler, yeah, because the plastic ruler is not where the 0 starts. You can see that the 0 starts a little bit further in, just about there. So that's where I need to line my spanner up with, okay? And then if I slide across, we can see the other end of the spanner, keeping it on the 0. In this case, it is, it's 10. Not 10, it's not 9, it's in between 9 and 10, so it's 9 centimetres and 5 millimetres. 9 centimeters and 5 millimeters. So I want you to find things to measure. You might do a cup, you might do a pen, a pencil, I don't mind. And then you're going to write them in your workbook, and we're going to do some work with those. So for example, let me just cross off the speaker here, and let's have a go with a pen. So if I measure my pen, I can see that it is 12 and 7. So I need to write here 12 centimeters and 7 millimeters. I've got my phone. You might want to borrow someone else's phone or measure a tablet if you've got one, or measure the device you're working on. This is 13 and 6. This is 13 centimeters and 6 millimeters. And you can go on, get a cup, whatever you want to do, measure it in centimeters and millimeters, get it accurate. Remember always to start at 0 on whatever measuring device you've got. Okay, well done. Now, we can convert these measurements into centimeters. At the moment, we've written them down as centimeters and millimeters, okay, here. We can convert them into centimeters using decimal notation. We know when we're writing decimals, we have a decimal point, and over here we will have the tenths, and over here we will have the ones, okay? So let's see how we can convert that. On the Mathsantic video, you noticed that on the ruler, the guy said that there is 10 little lines in between the 0 and the 1. So each millimeter is 1/10 of a centimeter. Each millimeter is a tenth of a centimeter because there's 10 spaces in between 0 and 1. Same between 1 and 2. There are 10 spaces in between 1 and 2. You can pause the video and you can count them if you want to check. So I can simply write this pen measurement of 12 centimeters and 7 millimeters like this. 12 point. Now, straight next to the ones, which is the 2 here, I've got tenths, and there are 7 millimeters, 7 out of 10, 7 tenths. So I simply put 7, 12.7, and that is centimeters. This will be 13.6 centimeters, and so on. So as well as measuring 6 or 8 different things around the house, you need to write them down in centimeters and millimeters and in their centimeter decimal notation. So decimal notation going into the tenths like that. Off you go. Great, well done. I can't mark your work. Yeah, tomorrow there won't be any answers for this because obviously what you're measuring is different from what I'm measuring. I can't do that. So the best thing to do now is, or later when you can, is ask somebody else to measure the same objects. Say, could you measure this? See how long you think it is. See if they get the same answer as you. If they don't, have a discussion. See who you think's right. By working it out like that is how you're going to learn. It's how we learn from each other when we're all in here at school together. Finally, if you're feeling like being a bit more spicy or spicier, you need to have a go at this. Converting our measurements into millimeters. Here's a puzzle. Lauren cut a piece of yarn, that's like string, that was 10 centimeters long. How many millimeters is this? So we're converting centimeters into millimeters. She's got something which is 10 centimeters long. Now that 10's got no decimals in at the moment, so it's 10 point nothing. Let's put it in the place value chart. Now, millimeters are a lot smaller. They are actually 10 times smaller. So if I'm converting centimeters into millimeters, I need to multiply by 10. Let's just say that again. If I'm converting centimeters into millimeters, I need to multiply by 10 times by 10. Here I've got my 10 centimeters in the place value chart. These are centimeters. Oh, that should just be tenths, by the way. And I multiply it by 10. If it's getting bigger, I've got to move all of the digits across to the left. So the 1 is going to go across to here. I can put it on the line underneath. The 0 goes across to here, put it on the line underneath. And finally, I've got to carry the decimal point the same place. Remember, place value chart, the decimal point always stays in the same place. So you'll notice that I've got a gap here and I need to fill that in with something. Do you remember what it's called? Yeah? Yes, the placeholder. So I've got to pop a 0 in there. So I now know that 10 centimeters equals 100. This is my new number here. 100 millimeters. So let's do that for our answers we've got here. If I've got 12.7 centimeters, I can use this same chart here. Let's just get rid of that. My rubber's a little bit small. It's very good. It doesn't leave anything behind when I do get it on there. Okay, so now I've got a clean place value chart. I can take one of my measurements. Let's take the first one. It's 12.7 centimeters. Let's put that into the place value chart. I've got 110. Hang on, give me my pen. 1, 2 units or zeros, and 12.7, 7 tenths. So it's 12.7 in the place value chart. I know if I'm converting it to millimeters, I need to multiply by 10. So let's multiply it by 10. Move every digit across just like we did before. The 1 goes across to here, the 2 goes across to there, the 7 goes across to there, and the decimal point, what happens to that? Yeah, nothing. It stays where it is, exactly the same spot. So there is my decimal point. So the answer is 127. And I can pop that in my workbook now. So 12.7 centimeters is 127 millimeters. And you can do that for all of these, converting the centimeters into millimeters so they're all there in your workbook. Well done, Year 4. And that's it for today. And I will see you on Friday for our next lesson, which is going to carry on looking at tenths and place value.